Captain Lee Tae-min stood at the observation deck of his ship, watching the massive space station grow larger through the window. Nexus Prime was the biggest trading post in the galaxy, a place where all the alien races came to do business. His ship, Soul's Pride, looked tiny next to the giant vessels from other worlds. "Captain, we're getting close to the docking bay," said Dr. Park So-young as she walked up beside him. She was the smartest person he knew, but even she looked nervous about this meeting. Lee Tae-min nodded. Today was important. Earth had sent them here to ask the big alien powers for better technology. Humans had been part of the Galactic Federation for 50 years now, but they were still treated like children. The other races had been traveling between stars for thousands of years before humans even invented the wheel. The docking process went smoothly. Engineer Kim Woo-jin had made sure their ship worked perfectly, even if it wasn't as fancy as the alien ones. As they walked through the station's halls, Lee Tae-min noticed how other beings looked at them. Some stared with curiosity. Others barely glanced their way. Humans were still new and strange to most of the galaxy. The meeting room was huge, with a round table that could seat hundreds. Only the most powerful races were here today. The Vorthak Empire had sent their best negotiators, tall, crystal-like, beings who could control energy with their minds. The Keltharian hegemony was represented by creatures that looked like floating jellyfish, but their thoughts could read minds and move objects without touching them. The Zephyrian collective had dozens of small bug-like beings who all thought as one mind. Admiral Kang Do-hyun, Earth's representative, sat at the human section of the table. He looked confident, but Lee Tae-min could see the tension in his shoulders. This was humanity's chance to prove they belonged with the big powers. "Welcome, representatives of Earth," said High Negotiator Veltar of the Vorthak Empire. His voice sounded like glass breaking. "We understand you wish to discuss technology sharing agreements." Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood up. "Thank you for seeing us. Humanity has much to offer the galaxy. We've made great progress in medicine, engineering, and space travel in just 50 years. Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. The Keltharian mind speaker, Ceylon, sent thoughts directly into everyone's heads. 50 years is barely a moment. We have been perfecting our arts for millions of your years." Dr. Park So-young activated a holographic display. "Our medical advances have allowed us to cure diseases that once killed millions. We've also developed new ways to grow food in space and clean polluted air." The Zephyrian collective spoke in unison, their voices creating strange harmonies. "Crude, biological solutions. We require no food. We repair our bodies with thought alone. Your medicine is like using stones to build when we use pure energy." Lee Tae-min felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept quiet. This was exactly what they had expected. The aliens saw humans as primitive creatures playing with simple tools. High Negotiator Veltar's crystal body glowed brighter. "Your species shows promise, but you lack the foundation for advanced technology. Energy manipulation requires millions of years to master. Your minds cannot handle true psychic power. Your bodies are too weak for the rigors of deep space." "We understand your concerns," Admiral Kang Do-hyun replied calmly. "But humans are quick learners. We adapt fast. Give us the chance to prove ourselves." The room filled with what could only be called alien laughter. The Keltharian Cylon sent another thought message. "Adaptation? You breathe oxygen, require constant food, and die after barely a century. You are fragile flowers that wilt in real space." One of the Zephyrian collective added, "Your ships require massive life support systems. Your weapons are metal projectiles. Your computers are slow and limited. You offer us nothing we do not already possess in better forms." Dr. Park So-young tried again. "But our diversity gives us strength. Humans think differently than other species. We might find solutions you haven't considered." High Negotiator Veltar's glow dimmed, showing his boredom. "Different thinking often means wrong thinking. There are optimal solutions to all problems. We have found them over millions of years. Your creativity is merely inexperience." The meeting continued for hours. But the result was clear from the start. The alien powers would not share their advanced technology with humans. They offered small trade agreements, basic materials in exchange for human art and cultural items. They treated humanity like an interesting pet rather than an equal partner. As the meeting ended, Lee Tae-min noticed engineer Kim Woo-jin watching everything carefully. The young man had been quiet throughout the session, but his eyes never stopped moving. He was studying every alien device, every piece of technology in the room. Walking back to their ship, Dr. Park So-young looked disappointed. 50 years and they still see us as children? Admiral Kang Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Maybe that's not entirely bad. What do you mean? Lee Tae-min asked. Children are underestimated. People don't watch children carefully. They don't see children as threats. The Admiral's voice was thoughtful. Sometimes being ignored gives you advantages. Back on Seoul's Pride, engineer Kim Woo-jin was already at work in his workshop. He had recorded everything, every energy signature, every psychic pulse, every quantum fluctuation from the alien technologies. His computer screen showed complex patterns and equations. How long have you been doing this? Lee Tae-min asked. Finding the young engineer surrounded by alien tech readings, Kim Woo-jin smiled. Since we first met aliens 50 years ago. Every human ship, every human station, every human who meets aliens, we all collect data. We study everything. And we understand their technology better than they think we do. The Vorthak energy. Manipulation follows clear physical laws. The Keltharian psychic powers work through quantum field manipulation. The Zephyrian collective consciousness uses bioelectric networks. Kim Woo-jin pulled up a new screen. The interesting part is that they each only use one approach. They've specialized so much they can't see other possibilities. Lee Tae-min stared at the screens showing alien technology broken down into human mathematics. You mean we could combine them? Improve them? Use them in ways they never imagined? Kim Woo-jin's smile grew wider. Captain, humans have been doing exactly that for 50 years. While they see us as primitive children playing with toys, we've been learning everything they can teach us. As Seoul's Pride left Nexus Prime, Lee Tae-min felt something he hadn't expected after such a disappointing meeting. He felt hope. The aliens thought they knew humanity's limits. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 months after the meeting at Nexus Prime, the galaxy began to change. Captain Lee Tae-min received urgent messages while Seoul's Pride was exploring a quiet star system near the edge of human space. The news was not good. The Vorthak Empire had started attacking smaller worlds, claiming they needed more energy sources for their growing population. Their crystal ships moved fast, taking over 3 star systems in just 2 weeks. The attacked worlds had no choice but to surrender or be destroyed. Dr. Park So-young read the reports with growing worry. They're not just taking empty planets. These worlds have people living on them, millions of beings from dozens of different species. On the main screen, they watched news footage of Vorthak energy weapons turning entire cities into glass. The crystal beings showed no mercy to anyone who tried to fight back. Their high command announced that they were bringing order and efficiency to the galaxy. The Keltharian hegemony responded quickly. Cylon, the mind speaker they had met before, sent psychic messages across the galaxy calling for all peaceful species to join together. The floating jellyfish-like beings offered their protection to anyone willing to accept Keltharian leadership. Within days, 43 smaller species had agreed to the Keltharian alliance. Their combined fleets gathered at strategic points throughout the galaxy, ready to fight the Vorthak expansion. What about the Zephyrian collective? Asked engineer Kim Woo-jin, looking up from his work. Lee Tae-min checked the latest intelligence reports. They're staying neutral for now. Their hive mind is calculating which side is more likely to win before they choose. Back on Earth, Commander Yoon Ji-hye was preparing for something much bigger than anyone realized. In a secret facility beneath the Korean mountains, she met with Admiral Kang Do-hyun and dozens of other human leaders. How much time do we have? Asked Dr. Choi Min-ho, Earth's top physicist. Not much. replied Admiral Kang Do-hyun. The Galactic Federation called an emergency meeting. They want all member species to choose sides or stay out of the way. Commander Yoon Ji-hai activated a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Vorthak-controlled systems, blue dots showed the Keltharian Alliance, and yellow dots remained neutral. Scattered throughout were tiny green dots, human settlements. The big powers think there are only a few hundred human colonies, she said. They don't know about the other 2,000. Dr. Choi Min-ho smiled. 50 years of exploration missions. Every time we sent a ship to study cosmic radiation or map stellar formations, we were really setting up hidden bases. And every base has been collecting data on alien technologies, added Commander Yoon Ji-hai. We now understand their weapons, their shields, their engines, and their weaknesses better than they understand them themselves. The secret meeting continued for hours. Plans that had been developing for decades were finalized. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since the day they first met alien civilizations. Meanwhile, Captain Shin Aira was testing humanity's first upgraded warship in the empty space between stars. Her vessel looked like a normal human cruiser from the outside, but Kim Woo-jin's improvements had changed everything inside. Run another test of the hybrid shield system, she ordered her crew. The ship's shields activated, but they weren't like anything other species used. Instead of choosing between Vorthak energy barriers, Keltharian psychic protection, or Zephyrian collective point defense, the human ship used all three at once. The combination created a shield stronger than any single method could produce. Weapons. Test next, Captain Shin Aira said. Human projectile weapons had always been seen as primitive by other species, but when those projectiles were wrapped in Vorthak energy fields, guided by Keltharian psychic targeting, and coordinated through Zephyrian collective processing, they became devastatingly effective. All tests successful, Captain, reported her weapons officer. We're ready. The war officially began when a Vorthak battle fleet attacked the Keltharian homeworld. The psychic beings fought back with all their mental power, creating storms in space itself. The battle lasted for days, with both sides losing hundreds of ships. News of the fighting spread quickly. The Galactic Federation held its emergency meeting, with representatives from every member species gathering on the neutral station of Harmony Point. Admiral Kang Do-hyun attended the meeting, sitting in the small section reserved for humanity. Around him, powerful aliens argued about territory, resources, and ancient grudges. The Vorthak demanded that everyone submit to their rule. The Keltharians insisted that psychic beings were naturally superior to others. Smaller species begged for protection from both sides. What about Earth? Asked the station commander, a six-armed being from a neutral world. Will humans choose a side in this conflict? Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood slowly. Humanity offers to help with medical aid and refugee assistance. We're not warriors like the great powers. Several aliens made dismissive sounds. The Vorthak negotiator's crystal body barely glowed, showing how little he thought of the offer. Stay out of our way, humans. This war is beyond your understanding. The Keltharian representative sent a thought message to the room. We appreciate the offer, but this conflict requires real power. Perhaps humans could help evacuate civilians from battle zones. That's exactly what we plan to do, Admiral Kang Do-hyun replied. As the meeting broke up, most aliens forgot about the human representative within minutes. They had bigger concerns than the galaxy's youngest and weakest species. But Commander Yoon Ji-hee was watching everything from Earth. Human intelligence agents throughout the galaxy reported on fleet movements, weapon deployments, and strategic plans. The great powers were so focused on each other that they never noticed the small human ships moving through space. Captain Lee Tae-min received new orders. Take Seoul's pride to the border systems and help with evacuation efforts. The message seemed simple, but he understood the real meaning. Humanity was moving into position. Dr. Park So-young prepared medical supplies and refugee facilities, but she also activated communication systems that could reach every human settlement in the galaxy instantly. Engineer Kim Woo-jin loaded his computers with 50 years of collected alien technology data. The Zephyrian Collective finally made their choice. announcing their alliance with the Vorthak Empire. Their calculations showed that crystal energy manipulation was more likely to win than psychic powers. The hive mind began moving their cube-shaped ships to join Vorthak fleets. Now it was 3 against 1. The Vorthak Empire, the Zephyrian Collective, and their few allies against the Keltharian Alliance and dozens of smaller species. The war was spreading to every corner of the galaxy. Hidden in the depths of space, Captain Shin Ara's upgraded warship waited with dozens of others like it. On Earth, Commander Yoon Ji-hye gave the order that would change everything. Begin. Operation Quiet Thunder. It's time to show the galaxy what humans have really been doing for 50 years. Across thousands of star systems, human settlements that had been silent and hidden suddenly came alive. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had never been as weak or as few as everyone believed. Captain Lee Taemin was reading reports in his command chair when the emergency alarm started screaming. Seoul's Pride had been patrolling the border systems, looking for refugees from the growing war, but they had found something much more dangerous. "Captain, we have incoming ships," shouted his sensor officer. 12 Vorthak heavy cruisers moving fast. Lee Taemin jumped up and looked at the main screen. The crystal ships were huge, each one 10 times bigger than Seoul's Pride. But they weren't alone in space. About 1,000,000 kilometers ahead, a damaged Keltharian vessel was limping away from the Vorthak fleet, trailing energy and atmosphere from dozens of hull breaches. "Are there life signs on that ship?" Dr. Park So-young asked, running onto the bridge with her medical equipment. "Yes," replied the sensor officer. "About 3,000 beings, multiple species. Looks like they're civilians, families fleeing the war zones." Engineer Kim Woo-jin appeared beside them, his tablet showing energy readings from all the ships. "The Keltharian vessel's shields are failing. They won't last another hour against those Vorthak weapons." Lee Taemin stared at the tactical display. His orders were clear: avoid combat, help with evacuations, stay out of the way of the major powers. But 3,000 innocent people were about to die while he watched. "Sir, the Vorthak are sending us a message," said his communications officer. On the screen appeared Overlord Thexvar, a massive crystal being whose body glowed with contained energy. His voice sounded like breaking stone. "Human vessel, you are in a combat zone. Move away immediately or be destroyed with the other weaklings." Lee Taemin looked at his crew. Dr. Park So-young was preparing her medical bay for refugees. Kim Woo-jin was already activating systems that shouldn't exist on a simple human exploration ship. His officers watched him, waiting for orders. "Signal the Keltharian ship," Lee Taemin decided. "Tell them we're coming to help." "Sir, we can't fight 12 heavy cruisers," his weapons officer said quietly. "Who said anything about fighting?" Lee Taemin smiled. "We're just performing a rescue operation." Seoul's Pride accelerated toward the damaged Keltharian vessel. The Vorthak fleet barely seemed to notice. One small human ship wasn't worth worrying about when they had bigger prey to catch. But as Seoul's Pride got closer, Kim Woo-jin began activating modifications that had been hidden in the ship's systems for months. The reactor output suddenly doubled, then tripled. New weapon systems emerged from concealed compartments. The ship's hull began generating energy patterns that no human vessel should be able to produce. "What's happening to our ship?" asked Dr. Park So-young, watching displays light up with systems she had never seen before. 50 years of learning," Kim Woo-jin replied, his fingers dancing over control panels. "We've been studying every piece of alien technology we could find. Now we're using it." The first surprise came when Seoul's Pride reached the Keltharian vessel. Instead of trying to dock normally, the human ship generated a Vorthak-style energy tunnel that connected the two vessels instantly. Refugees began flowing through the tunnel at incredible speed. Overlord Thexvar finally paid attention to the small human ship. "What is that primitive vessel doing? How are they generating Vorthak energy patterns?" But that was just the beginning. As Vorthak weapons fired at the human ship, Seoul's Pride activated its defensive systems. The shields that appeared around the vessel weren't human, Vorthak, Keltharian, or Zephyrian. They were all of them combined. The energy beams that could destroy planets bounced off Soul's Pride like light reflecting from a mirror. But instead of just blocking the attacks, the human ship absorbed the energy and used it to power its own systems. Impossible, Overlord Thexvar growled. No single species can use multiple energy manipulation techniques. The physics won't allow it. Kim Woo-jin heard the transmission and laughed. That's your problem. You think there's only one right way to do everything. Humans don't think like that. Soul's Pride finished evacuating the Keltharian refugees, and then did something that shocked every alien watching. Instead of running away, the small human vessel turned toward the Vorthak fleet and attacked. But this wasn't the kind of attack anyone expected. Human projectile weapons had always been dismissed as primitive metal slugs. But these projectiles were wrapped in Vorthak energy fields that made them hit harder than antimatter bombs. They were guided by Keltharian psychic, targeting that made them impossible to evade. They were coordinated by Zephyrian collective processing that let hundreds of shots work together like one massive weapon. The first Vorthak cruiser exploded before its crew understood what was happening. The second managed to raise its shields, but the human weapons simply changed their approach, finding new ways through defenses that had never failed before. How are they doing this? Demanded one of the Vorthak captains. Overlord. Thexvar's crystal body began glowing brighter with anger and fear. They're combining technologies that shouldn't work together. This violates everything we know about physics. No, came a reply from Soul's Pride. Lee Taemin's voice was calm and confident. This violates everything you know about physics. Humans have been learning from all of you. While you competed with each other, we studied everyone. The battle continued for 30 minutes. Soul's Pride faced 12 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy and systematically destroyed them all. The human ship used tactics that changed every few seconds. Vorthak energy manipulation, then Keltharian psychic attacks, then Zephyrian swarm coordination, then combinations that no alien species had ever imagined. When it was over, Overlord, Thexvar's flagship was the only Vorthak ship still intact, and it was badly damaged. The crystal being stared at the small human vessel in shock and fear. "What are you?" he whispered. "We're humans," Lee Taemin replied. "And we've been watching you all for 50 years. Dr. Park So-young was busy in the medical bay, treating refugees from a dozen different species. The aliens looked at her with wonder and gratitude, but also with new understanding. This wasn't the primitive medical care they had expected from the baby species of the galaxy. "Your healing methods," said a Keltharian civilian. "They combine our psychic techniques with Vorthak energy medicine and approaches we've never seen before. We learn from everyone," Dr. Park So-young explained, as she healed wounds that should have taken weeks to recover from. Humans don't believe there's only one right answer to any problem. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. The great powers had communication networks that carried information instantly between star systems, and what they heard made them stop their war preparations. A single human ship had destroyed an entire Vorthak battle fleet. The weakest species in the galaxy had just proved they could defeat the strongest. On Earth, Commander Yoon Ji-hai smiled as she read the reports. Soul's Pride performed exactly as expected. How are the other preparations going? Dr. Choi Min-ho activated a holographic map of the galaxy. All human settlements are ready. Captain Shin Ara's upgraded fleet is in position. We can begin the next phase whenever you give the word. Not yet, Commander Yoon Ji-hee replied. Let them think Soul's Pride was just a lucky accident. Let them underestimate us a little longer. But across the galaxy, the major powers were no longer underestimating humanity. Emergency meetings were called on every home world. Intelligence services frantically tried to understand how humans had hidden such advanced technology. The Vorthak Empire, the Keltharian hegemony, and the Zephyrian collective all reached the same terrifying conclusion. If humans could do this, with one small ship, what could they do with their entire fleet? For the first time in millions of years, the great powers of the galaxy were afraid. The war between the great powers had stopped completely. After news of Sol's Pride destroying 12 Vorthak heavy cruisers spread across the galaxy, every major fleet suddenly found reasons to pull back and reconsider their strategies. For 3 weeks, space had been eerily quiet. Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Federation Council, looking at hundreds of alien faces filled with confusion and fear. The great powers had demanded answers about human capabilities, and Earth had agreed to provide them. Representatives of the galaxy, Admiral Kang Do-hyun began, his voice echoing in the vast chamber of Nexus Prime. Humanity requests permission to address recent events and offer a solution to the current crisis. High Negotiator Veltar of the Vorthak Empire leaned forward, his crystal body glowing with barely contained anger. Your species destroyed an entire battle fleet with a single vessel. We demand to know how this was possible. The Keltharian Ceylon sent sharp thoughts into everyone's minds. You claimed to be primitive explorers. You asked us for basic technology. Were you lying to us all along? Admiral Kang Do-hyun nodded calmly. We never lied. 50 years ago, humans truly were primitive by your standards. We had just learned to travel between stars. Our weapons were simple projectiles, our computers were slow and limited. Then explain what happened to our fleet, demanded Overlord Thexavar, the only survivor from the battle with Sol's Pride. We learned, Admiral Kang Do-hyun replied simply. For 50 years, every human who met aliens was studying them. Every piece of technology we saw, we analyzed and understood. Every technique you showed us, we practiced and improved. The chamber erupted in alien voices and thought messages. The idea that humans had been secretly studying everyone was shocking enough, but the claim that they had improved alien technology was almost insulting. Dr. Choi Min-ho stepped forward, carrying a device that made every alien in the room fall silent. The object in his hands was impossible. It combined Vorthak energy crystals, Keltharian psychic amplifiers, and Zephyrian collective processors into a single working machine. This is a planetary restoration device, he announced. It can repair the damage from your wars in days instead of centuries. It uses techniques from all your species, combined in ways none of you imagined. He activated the device, and holographic displays showed dead worlds coming back to life. Poisoned atmospheres became clean. Burned cities rebuilt themselves. Destroyed ecosystems flourished again. The aliens stared in shock. Each species recognized their own technology in the device, but none of them had ever thought to combine their methods with others. The results were beyond anything they had achieved alone. Cylon's thoughts were filled with disbelief. This should not work. Different technologies cannot be merged. The fundamental principles conflict with each other. Only if you think there's just one right way to do things, Dr. Choi Min-ho replied. Humans don't believe that. We take the best parts from everyone and make something new. Commander Yoon-ji Hae entered the chamber, followed by a small fleet of human vessels that docked at Nexus Prime. The ships looked ordinary from the outside, but every alien in the room now understood that appearances could be very deceiving. We need to show you something else, she announced. Something that will change how you see the galaxy. A massive holographic display filled the center of the chamber, showing a map of all known star systems. The great powers saw their territories marked in familiar colors: red for Vorthak, blue for Keltharian, yellow for Zephyrian, and dozens of other shades for smaller species. But scattered throughout the map were thousands of tiny green dots that hadn't been there before. What are those markers? Asked the station commander. Human settlements, Commander Yoon Ji-hye replied. Hidden bases, research stations, and colonies that we've built over the past 50 years. The numbers were staggering. The aliens had thought humans controlled maybe 300 star systems. The map showed over 5,000 human settlements, spread throughout the entire galaxy. High Negotiator Veltar's glow dimmed with shock. Impossible. We would have detected such expansion. You detected what we wanted you to detect, Commander Yoon Ji-hye explained. While you argued about territory and resources, we were quietly exploring every corner of the galaxy. We found worlds you considered worthless and made them valuable. We discovered resources you didn't know existed. Captain Shin Era's voice, came over the communication system from her upgraded warship. We've been preparing for this day since we first joined the Federation. Every exploration mission, every cultural exchange, every trade agreement was part of a larger plan. The revelation hit the great powers like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just been learning their technology, they had been secretly expanding throughout the galaxy, while everyone else fought over the same old territories. But the biggest shock was still coming. Engineer Kim Woo-jin appeared on screen from one of the human research stations. Behind him, thousands of human scientists and engineers were working alongside members of dozens of alien species, all of them cooperating willingly. For 30 years, we've been offering jobs to aliens who were tired of the endless wars and competition, he explained. Scientists who wanted to explore new ideas instead of perfecting old ones. Engineers who dreamed of building instead of destroying. Philosophers who believed different species could work together. The camera showed laboratories where Vorthak energy specialists worked with Keltharian psychic researchers and Zephyrian collective minds. The cooperation was producing technologies that none of them could have created alone. They came to work for us because we offered them something their own species couldn't, Kim Woo-jin continued. The freedom to think differently, the chance to learn from other approaches, the opportunity to create instead of compete. Admiral Kang Do-hyun let the implications sink in before he continued. The war you've been fighting has already been won, not by conquest but by cooperation. While you prepared to destroy each other, we've been building something better. The silence in the chamber was deafening. The great powers realized they had been outmaneuvered completely. Humanity had become the most widespread, technologically advanced, and diplomatically connected species in the galaxy, while everyone else was distracted by ancient rivalries. Overlord Thexvar finally spoke, his voice much quieter than before. What do you want from us? We want you to join us, Admiral Kang Do-hyun replied. Not as subjects or servants, but as partners. Your species have amazing abilities that could benefit everyone, but only if you're willing to work together instead of against each other. The Zephyrian collective spoke in their harmonic unison. And if we refuse? Commander Yoon Ji-hee activated another display showing human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. The numbers were overwhelming. Humanity had more ships, more bases, and more allies than all the great powers combined. Then you'll continue your wars in an increasingly small part of the galaxy while the rest of us build a better future around you, she said. We won't stop you, but we won't help you either. Dr. Park So-young stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. We've seen what your conflicts do to innocent people, the refugees we've been helping, the worlds destroyed by your wars, the species driven to extinction by your competition. We won't allow that to continue. The aliens looked around the chamber, realizing their situation. Humanity had offered them partnership or isolation. They could join the new galactic civilization or be left behind by it. High Negotiator Veltar's crystal body flickered with conflicting emotions. You've been planning this since you first met us. We've been hoping for this, Admiral, Kang Do-hyun corrected. Humans believe that cooperation is stronger than competition. We wanted to prove it. Today, we have. 5 years had passed since the day humanity revealed its true strength to the galaxy. Captain Lee Taemin stood on the bridge of his new ship, watching the construction of New Harmony Station through the main viewer. The massive structure was being built by workers from over 100 different species, all cooperating under human guidance. His crew was no longer purely human. Dr. Park So-young worked alongside a Keltharian healer and a Vorthak energy specialist. Engineer Kim Woo-jin led a team that included Zephyrian collective minds and brilliant individuals from dozens of other worlds. They didn't just work together, they had become friends. Captain, we're getting a message from the Vorthak homeworld, reported his communications officer, a six-armed being whose species had joined the new alliance 3 years ago. On the main screen appeared High Negotiator Veltar, but he looked very different now. His crystal body glowed with warm, steady light, instead of the angry flashes of the past. Behind him, Lee Taman could see Vorthak and human children playing together in what had once been a military facility. "Captain Lee, the restoration of our third moon is complete," Veltar reported. "Your terraforming technology has exceeded all our expectations. What once took us centuries now happens in weeks." Lee Taman smiled. "It's not just our technology, Veltar. Your people's energy manipulation made it possible. We just showed you how to use it differently." The conversation was interrupted by another incoming message. Ceylon, the former Keltharian war leader, appeared on screen from a research station orbiting a gas giant. The floating jellyfish-like being's psychic aura was calm and bright. "Wonderful news," Ceylon's thoughts reached everyone on the bridge. "The joint human-Keltharian expedition has discovered 3 new forms of intelligent life in the Outer Rim. They're already learning our languages and showing interest in joining the Alliance." Dr. Park So-Young looked up from her medical station. "Are they healthy? Do they need any assistance?" "Quite healthy, thank you. Your medical protocols have made first contact much safer for everyone involved. No more accidental poisonings or biological incompatibilities." These kinds of reports came in daily now. The galaxy was expanding not through conquest, but through exploration and invitation. Species that had hidden from the great powers for millions of years were now eager to join the human-led alliance. On Earth, Admiral Kang Do-hyun was meeting with representatives from over 200 species in what had once been the United Nations building. The room had been expanded several times to accommodate beings of different sizes and environmental needs, but somehow everyone fit together comfortably. "The latest census shows remarkable progress," he announced to the assembly. "Galactic poverty has dropped by 80% in 5 years. Wars between member species have completely ended. Scientific advancement is happening faster than ever before in recorded history." A representative from a crystal-based species raised a glowing appendage. "Admiral, our people still don't understand how humans knew this would work. How did you predict that cooperation would be more effective than our traditional methods?" Admiral Kang Do-hyun smiled. "We didn't predict it. We hoped for it. Humans have always worked best when we combine our different strengths. We assumed other species might be the same way once they had the chance to try." Commander Yoon Ji-hee was reviewing reports from across the galaxy in her new role as Director of Galactic Security. But her job wasn't fighting wars anymore. It was preventing them through understanding and cooperation. "Ma'am, we've had another request for membership," reported her assistant, a Zephyrian drone who had chosen to work independently from the collective. "The Korthak Empire wants to join the Alliance." "The Korthak?" Commander Yoon Ji-hee was surprised. "They've been isolationists for 10,000 years. Their message says they've been watching how we handle conflicts and they want to learn our methods. Apparently, their young people are very interested in our educational exchange programs. This was happening everywhere. Species that had been enemies for millions of years were now working together on joint projects. Ancient grudges were being forgotten as beings discovered they had more in common than they had differences." Dr. Choi Min-ho was leading the largest scientific collaboration in galactic history. His research station employed over 50,000 beings from 300 different species, all working together to understand the fundamental forces of the universe. "The breakthrough came when we stopped thinking about physics in terms of single approaches," he explained to a group of visiting students. "Vorthak energy manipulation, Keltharian psychic forces, and Zephyrian collective processing aren't separate phenomena. They're different aspects of the same universal principles." One of the students, a young crystal being, raised a question. "But Professor, our teachers always said there was one correct way to understand reality." "Your teachers were partly right," Dr. Choi Min-ho replied. "There is one reality. But there are many ways to understand it. Humans learned that the best understanding comes from combining many different perspectives." Captain Shin-Era was patrolling the outer edges of explored space, but her mission had changed completely. Instead of preparing for war, she was making first contact with newly discovered civilizations and inviting them to join the galactic community. Her ship's crew included former enemies who had become close friends. Her second in command was Overlord Thexvar, The same Vorthak leader who had once tried to destroy Sol's pride. Now he used his warrior skills to protect peaceful exploration missions. "Captain, we're approaching the signal source," reported the navigation officer. "It appears to be a primitive civilization just beginning to explore space. Remember the protocols," Captain Shin A-Ra announced to her mixed-species crew. "We approach with respect, offer friendship, and let them choose their own path. No pressure, no demands." As her ship carefully approached the new world, she thought about how much had changed. The galaxy had once been divided by fear and competition. Now it was united by curiosity and cooperation. Back on Nexus Prime, the station had been transformed from a military outpost into a center of learning and culture. Beings from across the galaxy came there to study, trade ideas, and celebrate their differences. Engineer Kim Woo-jin was teaching a class of young engineers from dozens of species. His students were creating technologies that combined methods their ancestors would never have imagined working together. "The key is to never assume you know the only way to solve a problem," he told them. "Every species, every culture, every individual has something unique to contribute. Our job is to help all those contributions work together." One of his students, a young human girl, asked the question that adults often forgot to ask. "But Teacher Kim, why didn't anyone try this before? Why did it take humans to show everyone how to cooperate?" Kim Woo-jin thought carefully before answering. "Maybe it's because humans were the youngest species in the galaxy. We didn't have millions of years of tradition telling us there was only one right way to do things. We had to learn from everyone else, so we got used to combining different approaches." Also, added a Keltharian student, "humans were underestimated. When everyone thinks you're weak, they don't watch you carefully. That gave you time to learn and grow." The human girl nodded thoughtfully. "So being small and new was actually an advantage? Sometimes the greatest strength is not being seen as strong," Kim Woo-jin agreed. As the years continued to pass, the galaxy continued to change. Wars became so rare that most young beings had never seen one. Poverty and suffering decreased as species shared their resources and knowledge. New discoveries happened constantly as different approaches to science combined in unexpected ways. The great powers of the old galaxy, the Vorthak Empire, the Keltharian hegemony, and the Zephyrian collective, still existed, but they were no longer competing for dominance. Instead, they were competing to see who could contribute most to the common good. And at the center of it all was humanity, no longer the baby species of the galaxy, but not its rulers either. They had become something more important. They had become the teachers who showed everyone else that strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together. The galaxy had fallen silent in shock when humanity revealed its true power. Now it was filled with the sound of cooperation, learning and hope for a future that no single species could have imagined alone.